On Saturdays, she invited all of them to go out painting with her on the headlands, facing out to sea. She said she would bring paints, crayons, colored pencils, and paper. They said they would bring lunch. As they worked, Miss Birdle talked about light and shadow and how to get the colors they wanted. They all worked hard on their drawings. Summer was almost over. Miss Birdle invited them to the shed for ice cream and cake. They asked about her paintings. She was sorry, she said, but they were all packed. The next day, they said goodbye to her at the dock. She said she would keep in touch, and if they rented the shed again next summer, perhaps they would keep her in mind as a tenant. School opened soon after Mrs. Gray said that their generous contribution to the activity fund from their rent money would make it possible for them to go to Washington, D.C. for their annual trip. School opened soon after. Mrs. Gray said that their generous contribution to the activity fund from their rent money would make it possible for them to go to Washington, D.C. for their annual trip. With two of the mothers along, they traveled by boat, train, and bus. They stayed in a motel near the White House. They saw everything: the Capitol, the Senate in action, the museums, the Library of Congress. But best of all, Mrs. Gray had a surprise for them. They were guests of honor at the opening of an exhibition of paintings by Miss Eve Birdle. Let's see what it says here about Charles E. Martin. Charles E. Martin has written and illustrated 3 previous books about the island community. That is the background of For Rent. Of his 3rd book, Island Rescue, the Horn book said, with the same guileless charm which characterized island writer and summer business, Charles Martin has created a slice of life mini drama in picture book format. Born in Boston, Mr. Martin has spent most of his life in New York. He is a self-taught artist and has worked as a designer, a political cartoonist for PM, and an illustrator for Life and Harper's Magazine. He has taught watercolor paintings at the Brooklyn Museum Art School. His paintings appear regularly on the covers of The New Yorker. That's For Rent. For Rent by Charles E. Martin.